midway through next year and be popular with streaming once they bring all the cool features out and make it better and
Okay.
discoverability.
So you're a big time believer in the current direction, the Elon direction, I
Yeah.
guess you could call it. Okay.
Yeah, I can't fault it. Like, fuck. What do you do?
I remember when it happened, a lot of people just sort of remarking to me like, dude, it can't really get worse. So I'm fine. I'm happy.
Yeah.
There's truth to that.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's funny. For all the faults that Twitter might have, I don't like any other social media better. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I have more fun on Facebook.
I mean, yeah, fuck, I don't even know the last time I posted something on Facebook, but like even over Twitch, YouTube, and everything, Twitter's just, everything's just better.
It's snappier, it's faster. And I don't know, now I feel like Instagram has lost its niche. Like, I don't really get what it is because Twitter has pictures too.
Yeah, like I feel like there's no point to post anything on Instagram. I find it, it's not as exciting as Twitter at all. But maybe we're just stuck in a little vortex and we don't look outside it and we forget that these other people exist. There's more drama. There's more shit going on. It's just more exciting.
Yeah. No, we dare I say we might be the boomers now. You know, get off my platform. That's the new instead of get off my lawn.
That's exactly what we are. We're getting too old.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the big problem. All right, well, I think we're live on all the platforms. I think if not, I'm recording a video here, so we might as well go for it. Dude, it's been way too long since we last spoke. I think 2 years ago, it was on the Axie Tuesday podcast when we were like peak bull market, peak Axies awesome. I think we were probably both like running scholarships. You were a little bit locked down. It's going to be interesting to catch up. Welcome, folks. We got DJ Sam Withers here. What's up, buddy? Welcome to Zyori +1. Pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. And it's been way too long. It's like a different time now. We're in like a massive bull market. And then on top of that, like you said, I was in a lockdown. And it was years ago, and now we're back, and the whole ecosystem's more thriving. Everyone's more happy, and it's interesting to see where this goes.
Yeah, I guess most of us are more happy. Those of us that stuck around, I feel pretty happy these days. I'm glad that I've gotten to really work through a bear market. I've speculated through quite a few, but I haven't actually been like, all right, my salary is derived by this. You have those days where you're like, are we going to make it? Like, how long is this going to last? Especially when you haven't hit the bottom yet. You know, when the numbers are still going down, it's easy to kind of get in your own head and wonder, I know there's cycles, but is this the last cycle? You know, am I what's that meme with that kid, like Unlucky Timmy or whatever? It's like finally gets a job in crypto, then Bitcoin goes to zero. You know, I definitely had some of those flashing in my head.
But you do, because you're like, even over the last 6 months prior to this little up in price, because I feel like price drives a lot of narrative, where you second guess yourself, like maybe we're not coming back. Like, is this the project? Is this actually going to move? Like, it's doing nothing for several months, and if not, you know, nearly over a year or so. Yeah. But look, I think the positivity in the market is much better, more healthier. People are getting excited about owning their own assets in these games, and I'm excited for 2024. I know I've spoken to a lot of Web3 games, and they're all launching Q1, Q2, and you know, everything's improved from the last cycle. Axie paved the way in 2021, and hats off to them. And they're still killing it now, like irregardless of what people think of any of these games or anything. They have the numbers. They've got Ronan, and I just want Web3 games to win. I don't care what game it is, but I'm excited for 2024. I think it's going to be an exciting year.
Okay, and are you pretty chain agnostic these days? I can't rember. Are you a fellow EVM bull, or are you complete? Are you a Solana guy now? Have they brought you over to the other side?
No, it's interesting, right? Because I'd say like a year ago, I was a little bit probably less mature, and I was saying things like, you know, if it's terrible graphics, it's terrible gameplay, or it's terrible game. And I think that's sort of not the mindset to have. And as of recent, I'd say over the last 3 to 6 months, I've sort of come around going, at the end of the day, people play Minecraft or anything. It doesn't matter if it's full high graphics or low graphics. If they have the community, that they can win, right? So I used to be, I guess, one-sided, but then I've come to the realization that I don't care what chain you're on. I don't care what game it is. If people are enjoying the gameplay and it's fun, and they're not there to extract value, you know, over 50% of them, then it's definitely a positive. I do see some games still it's play to earn. I don't know if I still like that. I haven't liked that for a while, and we obviously learned our lesson back in the day.
Yeah.
There has to be that healthy balance, and of 50%, people there just to spend money, and 50% you don't have to spend money, and have that balance. But I still find that there is games out there like that, and if you can find that balance, we need both, and it's a fun game loop, a fun loop. Then I'm all for it. Like any game, don't care.
Yeah, I've had less issue with the term play to earn because I remember this with like free to play, and I remember this specifically with Dota 2. And it was a long time before we settled on the MOBA genre. There were all sorts, like ARTS was one of them for a while. There were a couple other troll names, and like Action Battle Arena. I guess that's kind of what MOBA turned into, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because it's all about ideas. And as humans, we redefine words all the time. And like somehow the English language is actually getting more obtuse over time instead of more specific because all these nebulous words mean different things to different people. And play to earn kind of fits into that for me. And every time I hear someone try to say like play and collect or free and collect or collect to own, I'm like, we're still kind of talking about the same thing. It's like digital ownership. It's games that have live economies that tend to be player owned that are connected to gameplay mechanics. And it's doubling down on this connection of economy and gameplay. To me, that's what play to earn means, being able to get some kind of rake back for your time instead of it just being a one-way faucet. So to me, if there's potential to earn anything, it kind of can start to fit into that wide umbrella. I guess excluding like esports and tournaments, that feels a little different. But, as a core mechanic of the game, I don't know why play to earn became play to replace your career. I think that's where we went wrong. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I do have a question. I'm curious for you because I don't think it matters what chain or anything that you're on. I think that eventually, at some point, when the technology gets there, everything's going to be connected somehow. It's not going to be any bridges or any like hard, I guess difficult ways to transfer your assets and everything else. So I don't think it matters. But I'm curious. Do you think it's going to be like that or different?
I definitely think that'll be the case for EVM. I think stuff that speaks the Ethereum language, yes. Chainlink is the thing I've been talking about a lot in spaces. I don't even own any right now. I just believe in it as a product. They're working on CCIP, which is some sort of interoperable protocol that I think, if I understand the layman version right, kind of lets you do stuff cross-chain without bridging stuff cross-chain. So you can say, I've got an Ethereum on Avalanche, and I want to do something on this other chain, and Chainlink kind of works in the middle and like literally lives up to their name of linking the chains together. So yes, it obviously won't be everything, right? Stuff that just like Cardano, that's its own kind of bubble. I don't know how that's going to fit into all of the interoperability. I know they're working on building EVM bridges. So yes, I think largely at Crypto Unicorns, that's why we haven't spent much time building infrastructure, because we feel like those issues are going to be solved by other people that want to specialize in that. So we can just build games. Like I respect IMX for what they're trying to do with their passport and try to lower the friction, but we've been much more, we're going to let someone else solve that, and then we'll just adopt whatever becomes the preferred login port. Like, MetaMask is fine. I don't really care about MetaMask. I'm not loyal to it. It's just what everybody uses, so that's what we want to support. We see it very much as just a pragmatic, like, how do people want to log in? Okay, let's give it to them. I don't want to build the login system.
Well said. And that saves funding, right? At the end of the day, get the experts to do what they need to do. You guys are experts at building games. You know what they want, people want in that area. And then when it's ready, it's ready. Like, you don't have to overcomplicate things and don't reinvent the wheel, as they say.
It makes it bumpy in the short term, though. It has its costs. I mean, there's advantages to Ronin having their own wallet. It reduces friction, but it's also another thing that you have to manage. And that's something people forget about a lot. You see, now that I work on the other side, dev resources really are the ultimate. That's the resource. That's how stuff gets built. And dev hours are kind of expensive on average, right? These are smart people with high salaries building stuff from scratch. So I probably was guilty of this too. Before I worked on the dev side, you're very tempted to just say to all these games, why don't they just do this? Why didn't they just add an extra 10%? Why didn't they just do more? And it's like, well, son, because it fucking costs more money. Because it probably isn't going to make more money, but it costs more money. And that's sort of what it comes down to. And that's just business, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It just kind of is how it is. So it's funny how your perspective changes. You see things differently once you hop to the other side of the fence. Like, even at Axie, I was the esports guy, so I didn't do much with product design or game design. I was really just running tournaments, doing community management, working in communications, like very siloed from the actual core game design team. And it's been fun to work a lot closer with the design team with the unicorns. Do you have any unicorns? I forget. Do you know of Crypto Unicorns, or was that hey, what the hell is that IP when I mentioned it?
No. So I knew about them because of their animation and their logo, the bubble logo that you guys have, and I saw it around. But then I obviously disappeared for a year or two, went traveling. But I don't know much about the ecosystem, and I mean, I would love the elevator pitch, and whoever else is listening here that you could give.
Yeah, so it's on Polygon. Been live for about a year and a half. It was inspired by the Axie play to earn model. So the unicorns are breedable. You know, they're inflationary. We have the shadow corns, 3,000 of them, fixed supply asset. They're like the evil unicorns, and now the whole core of the ecosystem is shadow corns and unicorns fighting over resources. Started with kind of a farm sim game, and now it's evolved into be a little more of this breed, battle, collect style game. Plays on the web browser, and use your unicorns to harvest resources, craft items. Now we have Jousting, which is sort of a set it and forget it style game that runs on weekends, kind of like a live op. That's where people earn RBW for the most part. And building out the ecosystem, we've got Unicorn Party, which is real money wagering, like App Store, like Apple App Store, hyper casual games. That's just coming online. We just got our first set of games approved in the App Store. Full launch is supposed to be later this month, right before January. And then the very last thing is our new skill game, Rainbow Rumble. You might have seen some of that on Twitter. There's been a lot of clips floating around that just launched. And it's kind of Fall Guys meets Wipeout meets Mario Kart meets Unicorns, sort of replaced our racing vertical and, you know, running through the clouds, obstacle course, that kind of thing. So it's an ecosystem play. It definitely was a, hey, Axie, your white paper is really awesome. I don't know why you're not executing a couple of those really awesome things in your white paper. We're gonna fork the idea, mold it, and then take it in sort of a different direction and build out this good and evil thing. You know, in Axie, the Chimera are NPCs. The bad guys are NPCs. In our world, the bad guys are player owned. if that makes sense. So
well, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense of like an evolution of any technology. If you have Axie, they were the forefront. You know, they're one of the first to do something, and then people will take ideas off that and then fork it into their own or do different things. And that's what you've seen over the last, the bear market, the last 2-3 years of people coming up with different iterations. And there's still no blueprint. Like if you look at mobile gaming back in 2010, people are like, you're not going to spend money on these games. You're not going to have these in-app purchases. Like it was just a wild, wild west. And then once there was a proven model, and then everyone just duplicates that. So I think we're in that position right now with Web3 where we're just trying to find out what is the main blueprint, and it will happen over time, whether it's regulatory or what people want and what business model works. And there'll be a couple, and I think eventually there'll be some sort of blueprint, and then that's what we'll duplicate. Yeah. But I mean, I'm interested, like, because you went from Axie to unicorns. I'm intrigued. How was that transition like? Like, what happened? Obviously, it was coming to the bear market. They obviously had a lot of capital. Like, are you allowed to talk about it? Do you want to talk about it? I'm curious. I don't know.
I appreciate the curiosity because this stuff, it is a little hard to talk about in like tweets and stuff because I don't want to be negative, but yeah, I can definitely talk about stuff. Do you remember AxieCon? We talked about AxieCon.
Yeah.
Like, I look back at our last messages on Discord was me inquiring whether or not it made sense to try to bring you to AxieCon to do a set. And it ended up not being something that we did, but it was like an idea that we were pursuing and stuff. AxieCon ended up happening. That was over a year ago now, September of last year. It was really cool. It was in Barcelona. It was very stressful. It happened, the hack, the great Ronin hack, 600 million or whatever, happened April of that year. So that's like your prime run-up before the event. This other major Black Swan event happened. So understandably, focus got separated, and I ended up feeling kind of a bit on an island with AxieCon stuff, and we pulled it off, but it was just really, really hard. And I hit a little bit of a breaking point, and Axie Origins was clearly just not an esport game. So for me as the esports guy, I was like, hey, I always felt like Axie Classic was the game, and their model was, at the time, we're going to throw away Axie Classic. Axie Origins is the future. It's just better. And it turned out it's just different. It's like a deck builder. Yeah. It's like turn to turn. There isn't that much decision making compared to Axie Classic that's bluff central. Every single turn is a hair trigger where you could totally best your opponent or basically throw the whole game away. And we saw that at AxieCon. When Axie Classic was on, it was like hair trigger. We had the most epic finals. Like last hit was a crit. I was doing this while I was watching it. It's like smacking my neck. I was ticking. That's how intense it was. And with Origins, I kind of had to force myself to watch it. And this was like the best of the best. I didn't nearly have that same level of adrenaline hit as a viewer. So that was a big moment for me of, here's an A/B test of reality, and they were way louder for Classic. And my kind of final dying breath at Axie was trying to get them to understand that Classic is such a great game, and if they just give it a little bit of love and polish and some potential earnings and a leaderboard, dude, people are going to come running back to it because people really love it. And people associate that whole Scholar era of play to earn with the game, so it's nostalgic even without earnings. You know, there were more people playing Axie Classic without earnings than there were at playing Crypto Unicorns, I think, when I left Axie. And that's like, to me, that was like, guys, you're sitting on a gold mine here. You have a game that has more players than a lot of other games in our genre with 0 earnings. And all these other games are literally paying people to play the game. That is just do it. And I was told no at the time, and now Axie Classic has resurfaced, and it's, I'm sure you've seen the headlines, got all these players, and it's doing really great and all that. So when I was told hard no, it's all in on Origins, I was like, well, I think the esports guy's getting fired anyway. So I started looking around for jobs and applied all over. I looked around at Polygon and some other blockchains, looked around at some other games, and I happen to have a long-time real-life friend that's been working at the crypto unicorn company Laguna Games for a long time, and ended up interviewing. And weird time to be looking for jobs. If you remember, like Q4 last year, tech was down, crypto was down, esports was down, gaming was down. I was like, that's everything I know in the world. I got nothing left. So for the unicorns, I did 7 one-hour interviews to land this position. And I kind of went to them and was just like, hey guys, I want to work for you, but I don't know what my job's going to be. And I want to kind of do more design and product stuff. And I think I can help with your community. And I think I can do communications. So I kind of had to make the rounds, meet the different department heads, and then come up with, all right, here's where I think I can be most impactful. And they were able to carve out a position for me. So it's just one of those things. I was stressing about, I don't want to, my job at Axie is awesome. I don't want to like take a downgrade. I don't want to just quit. I want to make sure it's a strategic move. And I feel really happy and a little lucky to find a group that I mesh with, that like it's similar enough to Axie that it doesn't betray any of my core thesis. It has a lot of this. There's a big Venn diagram in the white papers. So to me, that was a big bonus of like, oh shit, this is like sort of working at an Axie similar product where I have some framing here, but I can actually now work on the product instead of just being the dude running the esports startup on the periphery that, gets thrown some bones every so often to do a few tournaments, which was cool to have that freedom. I don't mean to be negative about it, but it really did feel like I was running a startup within the startup rather than being a senior member of the core team, if that makes sense.
So do you feel like more included at the unicorns, sort of like your one whole team instead of like the separate guy as an esports guy?
Definitely. And it's also, I mean, Axie's core is in Vietnam. When I started, there were like 20, 30 employees. And I really was under the impression that we were building an international first company. Big heart in Vietnam, obviously Trung's there, a bunch of the other co-founders, but we were going to go for the best of the best, just global first talent. And it ended up being the opposite. And when I left, it was like, 95% Vietnamese, which isn't a bad thing by design, but that's just a very different model. And it was really hard to interface remotely and not speak Vietnamese and not be in the office when it went from being, hey, we're mostly remote to 10 of you idiots are remote. The rest of us are all here in the office hanging out. And it's awesome. And I don't want to live in Vietnam. I'll just say it. That was one of those like, that's not a spot that I wanted to relocate to. And I'm pretty committed to Puerto Rico now. So a lot of reasons going into it, sometimes just changes in the air. I was also butting heads with some folks. The work culture is very different being a Vietnamese company. I'm an American entrepreneur. I'm a little aggressive. I'm very like, I see how things can fail and I want to make sure they don't fail. And I felt like I was butting heads with other folks that were a little too laissez-faire about like, oh, just don't worry about it. Like, that's not a satisfying answer.
It's not in your DNA for you just to be like, okay, cool. Yeah.
I mean, I love Psych Out. I love Alex. I would say he's a personal friend. I'm thankful for the opportunity he and others gave me to work there. It really helped my career. They opened up my eyes to the whole crypto world. I don't know I'll ever be able to thank him completely for that, but yeah, we had some pretty epic moments of butting heads, internal conversations of like just serious disagreements, and like, there were a few times where we would argue in chat, and I remember a couple new employees like, dude, you can't talk to people that way. But they're like, but he talks to you that way too. And I'm like, this is kind of just gamer shit. This is like two hardcore Dota guys we're both mad. We both think we're 100% right. And we're just duking it out right now. And it's embarrassing that you can read it too. But, they're like, I can't believe you didn't get fired for saying that. I'm like, well, because we also make up and hash it out. And like, there is, I hope you know what I mean, of like, there is a real gamer culture there, especially dudes can, I think, sometimes be a little more like that. Two dudes, you get really stubborn, you fight each other, and then you go hug it out and have a beer, and it's like starts with a fight and ends in a friendship. There's something.
You become stronger,
a hell
right?
of a drug.
You become stronger as friends, I feel, when you go through these things, and you need that because you can't just have one person that rolls over going, "Yeah, you're right. I just don't want to have an argument." You need to voice your opinion, and of course, that's going to happen in Web3 gaming, especially. So I mean, it's probably a healthy thing if I'm honest. And again, like circling back to you during that December period last year, like congrats trying to pivot through at that hard time. Like that's probably like around that time frame is super hard to pivot from one Web3 game to another, especially when every Web3 game was like tightening their ship and, you know, we've got no funding, we've got no runway and all this stuff. So I'm happy that you found a home at the unicorns. And obviously I'm actually going to look more into it after this because I obviously haven't. But
I'll hook you up with a bundle,
I'm glad you found home.
We can send you a little airdrop. And our director of marketing is Australian. I think he's in Sydney. So
what a legend!
Different.
What a legend!
But yeah, we got a guy on your time zone who, you know, do you know Sunflower Land?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
So they've got at least one Australian founder, if not all Australian founders. So I love this. Yeah, we've done some stuff with them. Dude, crypto goes deep in Australia, man. You guys are all about it.
Yeah, but they're all in Sydney too. And I've noticed there's like a street or like a couple of streets in that area. There's like a little Web3 small hub that they're all working through. So I love that there is a lot of Web3 guys and more coming over from Australia, especially with our tight regulations here. They suck. Like your banks won't allow you to put X amount of money in it per month.
Really?
And it's just a nightmare. But yeah, I think Australians are adapting Web3 culture a lot more. And super fun.
How are your politicians with it? I'm actually quite curious. Do you guys have the same like CBDC concerns that we do? And do you guys have an equivalent of Elizabeth Warren, who's just bought by the banks and just trying to bring it all down?
I love. I saw something on. She makes like 200K a year, but yet her net worth is like 70 million or something.
Yeah, well, insider trading for stocks is actually legal in America for politicians. Like, there's no rules against it, so they do it, and it's like, maybe there is. What? No, I said that wrong. There are rules for them, but there aren't rules for their like spouses and partners or something. So that's like part of the joke. Nancy Pelosi's husband is like the best stock trader of all time. It's like, oh, that guy. Yeah.
I hate it because it's just common sense, right? Like these things should not be allowed. They're so obvious, but just whether you want to call them corrupt or anything else and whatnot. But I mean, circling back to the whole politicians here in Australia, they do like crypto. They want to figure it out. There is a bit of a niceness about it. There is the banks that have been trying CBDCs for the past year or two, like ANZ, that's called here in Australia. They've done trials and everything. We all know where this heads, whether it's one day away or a couple of years and everything. But as Australians, we're so cruisy. We don't really care too much on things. We're just like, yeah, okay, cool. Like we don't really riot too much unless like the lockdowns were getting a bit much. But in general, we just accept things, and that's just who we are. We're just cruisy. Life, it comes, it goes. We don't really get.
It's cruisy.
We just don't. Yeah, we don't really get into politics. Like I'm speaking for myself, but like I would say the general thesis of Australians, we're just like, cool, whatever. Let's go surfing.
Totally. No, Puerto Rico is some of that vibe too. It's, you know, it's half America, you know, it's American territory. So it's not a state. It's this weird, it's not really a loophole. It just exists in this really odd state of regulatory uncertainty. And there's a very strong culture, you know, like Bad Bunny. I don't know if you've heard of him, very popular Spanish speaking musician. He's Puerto Rican. There's like really Puerto Rico is big in the reggaeton genre, you know, like trap kind of reggae-ish rap music in Spanish. The Puerto Rican Spanish is very distinctive and really kind of slurry and fast and actually quite good for rapping. So it's cool. This little island with not that many people, it's like their main export is culture, and it's connected to America. So if you're American, you can come here without a passport and just hop on a flight like it's domestic, and it drives a lot of tourism. It's a weird place. I really like it, but it's very, very unique in that regard, especially given that it's kind of America, but also not America. It's
so weird that you can fly there domestically. Like I don't know. I mean, in Australia, we don't really have that. Like the closest thing we would have similar is Bali, but you definitely need a passport and everything there. You guys don't own any
islands? Australia didn't go out and like conquer anything. You don't have like, you don't have a spat with New Zealand over some little rock in between.
We're convicts, so we're just lucky to be alive and out and about, to be fair with you. But no, we haven't invaded anything. We don't have we've got like the Great Barrier Reef, which is cool, but that's got nothing to do with any cool islands or anything.
Yeah,
So
no,
we're like on our lonesome down the bottom. Like everyone else is doing their own thing, and
yeah. I need to visit one day. The closest I've gotten is New Zealand.
Yeah.
I went to Path of Exile. They're based in New Zealand. Their headquarters is in Auckland, and they did Exile Con, I think the first one in 2019. So I took that as an excuse to fly over and had a good time. You know, it's nice. It's just insanely geographically isolated.
Yeah.
Weirdest time zone in the world. They're like in the future. It's hard to process until you're there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice area. It is a bit far away from a lot of people because that's why like I hear so many stories like Americans and like they want to come over but it's like a 14-hour flight. Like they're like, oh, I can't be bothered. Like
Even
it's super
more.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I totally understand. And it's the same thing vice versa. Like our go-to spot's Bali, whereas America, everything's a lot closer, or Europe is. So I totally understand. It's worth the trip if you do come down. Let me know. It's
100%.
Beautiful country.
No,
We're very lucky here.
Yeah, as long as you don't get killed by a plant or an animal. Those are two big ones to look out for. Or so
Especially,
TikTok tells me.
Yeah, especially a kangaroo. Just come up and just punch you and then just walk away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, it's a hell of a sport down there.
Yeah.
So talk to me about Illuvium. That was one of the main things that kind of triggered this conversation. I don't know if you're a big Twitter space guy, but you know, since things have resurged a little bit, Cloud White and I have been having a lot of fun on Twitter spaces, kind of. We're in this weird middle ground where we're not loyalists to Axie and Sky Mavis. We criticize the hell out of them, but also relative to a lot of the FUD and bullshit that gets slung at them, I will defend the world from just blatant like dishonesty. You know, if you're going to come in here and say things that are just completely wrong, hell yeah, I'm going to defend the truth. And if Sky Mavis is on the truthful side, so be it. And we've had a number of Twitter spaces. I don't know if you remember Steve Woody, but he was pretty critical, and he came back, and we had a pretty fiery one where Psych Out came in, and they kind of hashed it out and had a bro moment. So that was epic. He was upset about something about with data, and they were claiming how many DAU they have. I don't know what the hell. I can't remember what Steve was so upset about. And we had another one with Dave versus Axie. I don't know if you remember him.
He's still around. I have not seen him.
Well, so yes and no. The name Dave versus Axie is not. He rebranded to Disaster. It's like DZSTR.eth or something like that.
Right.
Brutal brand. I love Dave. I wish we would bring back Dave versus Axie. I get it. You know, that's why you shouldn't brand yourself for a game. You're DJ Sam Withers. You're not Sam Withers Illuvium. I'm not Zyori Axie, right? I'm Zyori TV. It's universal. You can watch me on any TV. I'm not picky. So it's been fun though. Like we've been able to get to this point where, you know, they want to come on and they'll talk some shit and we talk some shit and we throw some hands. And it was on another Twitter space with the Peg Axie guy, your buddy Corey Wilton, another Aussie bloke. Are you guys mates? I forget if you're a Peg Axie guy or not. I am not.
No,
a Peg Axie.
So
guy.
I mean, just a quick backstory with the Peg Axie is Axie was having its moment, and then there was a few little cracks, I guess, in the chinks in the armor financially for a lot of people, and like what's going on here. And then Peg Axie was coming up with the rise, obviously, like you know. And then I got into it, but not really. Like I put a little bit in and just was like, you know, putting my toe in the water just to be a part of it. But then I knew straight away within I'd say a couple of weeks, if that, I stayed in and I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to go down the same path. So I sort of just pushed back and then I didn't really do it. I knew a lot of people on Twitter wanted these scholarships and stuff, so I did it for that sake. But I barely touched Peg Axie and stuff. But I mean, he's got some things going on about this guild and new games and everything else. Super excited for him in his space with the Mira Labs, I think it is called.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know exactly. Mirai. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Yeah, again, like I have the thesis, and this comes back into the Axie and Illuvium and everyone who wants to fight for no reason or for whatever reasons, is I just want Web3 games to win. I want to get to a point where I say, hey, I'm going to play a game, but the game is a Web3 game. So eventually I can say, I'm going to go play a Web3 game. I'm just going to go play a game. It's going to be normal to have ownership. It's going to be normal to have some sort of economy within these games. And I do know people get passionate about this. Once they like Star Atlas has one of the strongest communities, I would say, in Web3 about defending themselves, especially what they've been through, and they will fight to the death. Like if you come after them, they'll hit you 10 times harder. And I've noticed that. So with Illuvium and Axie and a little bit of drama that's happened, that was obviously, I guess it's normal for especially in the Web3 space. It's fine. It's healthy. People are passionate. They have investments, and they just, I guess, people want to say this and then that, and then it gets heated, and it's great to watch. I'm like I said, I'm Sam Withers. I will take it. Whatever is working. I look at the pure data. Like if Axie has the numbers, sure, you can call it a shitty game or whatever you want, but hey, they've got the numbers. Like you can't say shit, to be fair with you. So I just want Web3 games to win.
Totally. That's a very wholesome take, and I can't hate on that. But I also, feel like
find something to hate.
Well, you ever hear like Bob Saget, rest in peace, a great comedian. He did like all those like Full House, right? You know, like all these like America's Funniest Home Videos, all these just kind of bullshit, fluffy type things for paychecks. But he was like a stand-up comedian at heart. He was like a raunchy joke-telling dude. It kind of felt. I think he talked about how he felt like as he went through more of those just like smile and nod dad moments, the more it made him just want to get into a microphone and go fuck, and just scream obscenities. I've got a little bit of that, you know, like at Axie, they kept us on such a tight leash that it got insane. Like there was a moment where, you know, Axie threw parties at all these different events, and the haters, they're just looking for whatever is going to trigger you the most, right? That's how it works in any internet trolling type thing. And one of them turned out to be, you guys are always just partying. Maybe you should spend less time partying and more time working, huh? Maybe if your game was good, you wouldn't be spending so much time at the bar. So we got sensitive to that, and it became this like, all right, guys, we're going to throw parties. But like when we post pictures, no like party pictures, just like people looking serious and talking pictures. Like people having fun, but I don't want to see any pictures of anybody drinking. I'm like, oh, fuck, okay. I mean, that's fine. I don't need to be like seen drinking, but this is getting weird. And then one time, I don't know if I've ever even told this story, but one time I was on vacation. It was after the first Creator Cup. We were in Asia, and we were in the Philippines. We did the second Creator Cup, rather. I was there with Stuart, my esports assistant, and after the Creator Cup was done, we went on holiday to Boracay, right? Beautiful beach in the Philippines. And he posted an Instagram story of him sitting at the pool, and it was like a picture of his laptop, the pool, and then the beach, and said, "This is my office for the day." And he was told to delete it because it might make it look like we're lazy. And I was like, well, hold on a second. Hold on. We just delivered an awesome activation, 40K concurrent viewers for this big esports tournament, big victory. We're on holiday. Everyone knows we're on holiday because we're on holiday with the producers of the tournament, and we were pretty loud about it. And we're working on our own holiday that we paid for. That's the opposite of being lazy. It shows that we're fucking workaholics. What are you talking about? And they're just like, yeah, just take it down, man. And it kind of broke my heart a little bit. Like, okay, we'll take it down, but fuck.
That's tough. Like, that's tough, right? Like, I got to look at it from a business standpoint, especially the head people at the companies. But at the same time, why should you change just for people's, like, you need to be yourselves. You shouldn't have to limit yourself to certain things. Like exactly what you said, like you're sitting by a pool, or if you can't take certain photos, like let people enjoy themselves. Take the W, take the win.
There's a balance, but it's like there's degrees, right? This wasn't a company account. It's not like we made the post on the Axie official account. This was his personal Instagram story. I'm like, dude, Stu has 100 followers, okay? I don't think any of our investors are following Stuart on Instagram. No offense, Stu, but like, you know, he's just not in the network. So it just seems so hypersensitive. And, you know, it's not that the unicorn folks want me to be provocative, but they're like, dude, like, you know, get out there, go speak your mind. If you see somebody saying bullshit, go say the truth. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with stepping on some toes. Don't make yourself look like a total jackass, but yeah, get out there. You know, we like content. And that's one of the things about our DAO that I've come to appreciate. We really, the crypto unicorn community doesn't get censored very much. Our community is very brutal, especially on us as devs. And I've seen how heavy-handed like Sky Mavis is with swinging the banhammer in their Discord. And it has another benefit where you have these really loyal viewers and you know, members that toe the line. But there's another benefit of having that kind of just like, okay, just get it out of your system, yell at me, say that we suck. So there is a different culture there for sure, where Sky Mavis, and maybe it's because they have more VC money, so they're like, hey, we got the money, now we just need to not fuck it up. And the unicorns are a little more like, we're still trying to get the money, you know? There's nothing to lose. We're the underdogs. It's a totally different equation.
This reminds me of, do you remember Kagi? He's Kagi Gen. He's still around. Like I don't know exactly.
We're friends now. It's just fucking weird. We went from like enemies to I had him blocked, then I had him muted, and now we follow each other and we talk on spaces regularly, dude. It's fucking crazy.
he like I know he did. So he's very engaging via Twitter and says what he needs to say for that content, which is what you do. Because he would say stuff like CEO of Axie and not, and then I saw a million times he was banned and not banned, and I don't know, and that could be a culture thing.
He was banned from AxieCon. I don't think he's ever planning on going, but there's
yeah. So I think that just refers to like different cultures. I think, like you said, you look at Axie, maybe they have to run a type ship. They've got VCs, understandable. You have to respect that. At the same time, at what point is it too much? You don't want to be like, oh, I can't do something. Like I can't be myself.
Yeah.
So all cultures are different. And I can speak for Illuvium. Like Illuvium, I was on their council. We just finished up an Epoch. And I came in there with the mindset of like, okay, I can go in. I'm a doer, right? I just do shit. That's how I work. I don't like delaying things. I just want to get things done. There's a lot of politics behind closed doors. And looking from an outside perspective, even with the Axie run up in 2021, you look at it like, God, you're making millions of dollars, like tens of millions. You've made hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm like, why are you not hiring everyone? Why are you not building all these things out? And there's just stuff that we don't know that's going on behind closed doors. And I refer this back to Illuvium. Like I'm very pro Illuvium for a reason, but it's not the only game I play or look at. Like I'm branching out a lot more as of recent days because there's not enough people within Illuvium. Like there's not enough TAMs to grow as a content creator. And my goal has always been now, how do I capture as many Web 2, Web 3 gamers, but just provide them value? I don't want to do like I don't want nothing to do with money or anything like that.
What's
I
your
just
main
want to provide
vehicle?
them value.
Is YouTube your main thing? Like, would you identify as a YouTuber or a content creator or a DJ, or like what is your thing?
So right now, so it's interesting. I still DJ. Like I still got festivals. If people don't know the backstory, I still play at these big festivals. There's 20,000 people plus. I still play with some celebrities. I've played with like Bieber, Drake, and go through the list or whatever.
Wow.
But I pivoted out of that at like I'd say the last couple of years because I sort of ticked all my lists there, and now I want to just grow in the Web3 space. So right now I'm trying to find the core games that I know that I feel like will be successful. Illuvium's definitely one of those, and then I just want to add on a couple of more. And then I don't want to jump from game to game to game. It doesn't really make sense for me. But from a branding perspective, I was speaking with a media company and everything else of how to put this all into one and how to provide a message where I don't want to extract value from everyone. I just want to give them value. And if they want to follow, great. It's cool. Because I'm not here for financial gain. I'm very safe with that. And I just want to try and be big in the Web3 space.
I want to touch on this extraction thing for a minute because I think I like the energy or the vibe when you say, when you talk about extractors at the beginning, you said 50-50. You kind of need this balance of people that are extracting and people that are putting in. And I think I've come to see it a pinch differently where, especially with crypto unicorns, like this game, we often joke that we have a little bit of like the Eve type archetype, the spreadsheet warrior, the folks that the game they enjoy playing is arbitraging each other. So they play this farm sim game, but really their gameplay is finding the most valuable thing to craft at any given time. And, oh, somebody's buying these berries. Okay, I'm going to produce that. And just breaking out the spreadsheet to go, oh shit, this isn't priced in yet. I'm going to be the guy that prices it in. So they're just very good at min-maxing, and we've observed that there's a couple of key like community discords and these kind of alliances that have formed of folks that I wouldn't say sabotage each other, but are they, nobody lists unicorns with prime genes. People keep their cards pretty close to their deck. But extraction is the name of the game, and it feels like our job as developers is to build a system that is either challenging to extract from or forces you to do things that help the economy to get to the point where you can extract significantly. And there's a balance there, right? And we just made this big change where we have tiers of items, and now it's kind of like you have to get to tier 3 items. Those you can cash out pretty easily, but you have to kind of work up to it. But that also allows us now to be more generous with the new player experience because you can't just sell the tier 1 things right away anymore. We can, you can earn them very quickly and then level up and start getting to the stuff that actually lets you earn tokens. So I don't know. I'm curious if that resonates with you because our community is very sensitive about extraction shaming, not even just sell shaming. They're like, well, what am I going to play if I'm not going to extract? Are you saying I shouldn't be extracting from this game? Like, that's why I'm playing it, is to like invest stuff and get ROI, and like it's a token.
That's interesting.
Game. Yeah,
that's interesting to me because I guess the pushback that I would have is if you're making money from a game, if I put in $10 and I take out 15, that $5 has to come from another player. Like that's just or somewhere. It has to come from somewhere, I should say. Yeah. Right. And then I think, okay, at what point then, if people are there to extract and they're not making money, they just leave and go on to the next thing, which is the worrying concern. How do you keep them engaged in your game? Which is, this is the whole, I guess, the whole point, and how you have to do this flywheel. How do you keep them there if people come into your game and they get hurt and they lose money? They have a bad stigma to that thing. So I'm intrigued to see how you guys actually
that's a great
work
question.
that out.
And we're still working on this. So I don't have it completely formulated, but I've been really intrigued by the EVE Online ecosystem because they've just taken so many great economic elements, right? Principles that are universal, blockchain or not, right? It's a lot of the core concepts translate. A lot of these players will spend 6 days a week min-maxing, right? That's their job. And some of them, like, they play other games too. Like, one of our players, I remember him saying after I joined, he said, hey, I'll do a user experience interview with you, but I want you to know, like, I love you guys and I want this to succeed, but I'm also kind of your worst enemy. Like, my full-time job is playing Web3 games, finding things that aren't priced in, and extracting that value. So, like, if you fuck up and you give me the opportunity, I'm going to take value from you. But I also want this to succeed, and I'm going to try to help you, all right? I'm going to give you some notes, and I'm going to share some things with you that might help make this a little more balanced. So that's a really interesting player archetype, right? That already is like a unique human being. Like, all right, I want to learn more about you and how you found this game and why you're giving me your time right now, right? It's a weird community, and even though their full-time job is to extract, everyone wants to relax on Sundays, and because most of these people are obsessed with financial stuff, they're also degenerate gamblers, and they love slot machines, and they fucking love lotteries, and they love just getting the pull. Axie's reaffirming that as well. Like, a lot of data indicates their audience really loves gotchas and this like loot box style thing. So it's not my favorite game design mechanic, but it works, and it's one of few things that fit into that list of where people are okay to lose money. Another one is like esports, like competition. You know, people are, you have 10 people, they all put in $10, only 5 can win, but all 10 think they're going to be in the top 5 to win. That, you know, you lose, you know the stakes, you're disappointed in yourself, but you're not mad at the system. The system was fair, you just weren't good enough compared to the other people. So assuming it was
more
fair.
of like a gambling, an addiction to that sense.
I mean, these are just examples gamified to me of, like, how do we, like, what you're asking for is this short list of what are the game mechanics that people are willing to spend money on and not be like, fuck this system when they lose money. And like, you know, slot machines tend to be one of them. Esports competition tends to be one of them. In the case of EVE, revenge tends to be one of them. Like, you get killed by another player, all of a sudden you're willing to overspend. That's how a guild war starts, right? Guild wars are expensive. It costs the guild a lot of money, but what do you get out of it? You win, and you know those other guys are demoralized because they went all in, you went all in, and they lost all their shit. That's something players are willing to pay for because there's an emotional, like a prestigious social value to it that isn't financial. You know, I just wasted a lot of resources, but it wasn't a waste because everyone knows we're number one now. So that's my territory.
I mean, I feel like ego and everything is a massive part of this whole Web3 thing, especially with expenditure. And I like the way you termed it with the pokies thing, rerealistically. Like, at the end of the day, if someone walks into a casino...
Pokies. So that's your slang for slot machines, for everyone.
Sorry. Yeah.
When you say pokies, I hear Pokemon. Pokies, they mean like you're poking the screen to do gambling, right?
Yeah. So the slot machines is the same thing. Like, you go to a casino and play slot machines or roulette or anything like that. You'll go in and you lose or win, but majority would lose. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a business. And you hate them for a day or two, but you always come back because you like the thrill of it. So if you look at that concept and put it into the Web3 gaming, which I don't really look at it like that, but then they're still going to come back, even if they're extracting, it's just a gamified version of that, which is a really, I guess, a different angle than what I would look at it like. I would look at it like it's a game. How do you want to have, your money as a business for a game is, your top 2% spenders is what runs your whole game. Your whales. That's where your majority of your money comes from.
It's true.
Yes, you can have extractors, but then you need people that actually will go in and spend money on the game that don't care about making that back. So if you look at any previous Web2 game, like the Avatar, Pandora, you got World of Warcraft and all these things, you're spending money and you're not getting anything back. Like, you don't expect it. So you happily lose that $100, $1,000 through the lifetime of this game. Right. But you'll have that fun. And that's what you're extracting. You're changing your money for fun and time with your friends. So if you could take that same concept and then put the earning into it, but then people don't like focus on the earning side, which you will have people do that. And it's like a snowball
That's
effect,
key too.
right?
No, you're 100% right. And that's the foundation. You want people to be
Yeah.
having fun. And, I'm both proud and a little bit sad to say this. We just, like yesterday, right, launched this, or 2 days ago, launched this new update for Crypto Unicorns. It's patch 3.0. It's this big overhaul. And it really changed the flow of the land gameplay, where now the tedious stuff has longer timers, so you can set it and forget it and get, like, proportionally the same rewards. And the more active stuff is a little bit more strategic. So it's like less clicks for more strategy. And we've got a lot of people in our Discord that play our game a lot and just do nothing but complain about it, but they keep playing it and spending money on it, which is a fascinating kind of just
Interesting
thing. One of them just said, "Hey, is it just me, or does this thing finally start to feel like a game where I can sit down and have an actual fucking session that's kind of fun?" It's like, from you, anecdotally, dude, that is the compliment of compliments. Like, hey, that's exactly what we were going for, dude. All right, and it's so validating to hear those kind of honest moments from people that have this history of, like, bag holders that are fudding their own bags, are kind of a unique breed, right? So I'm with you. Like, you want it to be fun and feel like a game, and have some people that are willing to trade money for fun. And just more of the money in the ecosystem is just there. That's up for grabs for players. To me, that's kind of what play to earn is. Maybe defining play to earn is really just player owned economies, right? Instead of it all going to the developer gets a cut, and most of it's kind of recycled into different, trades of value as people do different things in the ecosystem. I don't think gambling or the jackpots or any of that is perfect. I just think those are all mechanics that help illustrate how extractors mostly extract, but there are those, like, if you can build our clan system that we experimented with really got people. There was a disproportionate amount of spend. There was a break point where top 3 got an NFT badge, and in our ecosystem, if you stake tokens, you can apply badges to it to get an amplifier. So badges are actually valuable, and they're also like, hey, I did something. It's like a feat of strength. So top 3 got a badge with your guild's name on it, and at 4th place, you just got some tokens, some rewards, whatever stuff that's fungible. The battle for 3rd place got heated. Like 1st and 2nd were kind of sorted. But these 2 guilds were like, all right. And you can see the uptick in the economy, where when things are tuned pretty tight, you're like, it only takes a couple of small bodies here to start fighting for one spot. And like, damn, like these people are jousting. These guys are breeding right now. These guys are using boosters. So it's just incredible to see these little experiments yield successful results of, okay, they're all extractors, but once you get them extracting against each other and break it into faction gameplay, you're shifting the paradigm a little bit. So,
but that's where the excitement is, I feel, and that's where the ego is, and that's the whole part of gaming. Everyone wants that NFT, or even in traditional games, we all want those certain items that people don't have, so you can walk around it. Yeah, 100%. And I'm intrigued to ask you this: if you were starting a game now in the Web3 space, say you were building it out yourself, because I feel like I wouldn't launch a token straight away. I would want to build a community first, but then it's hard because the token is your marketing strategy. I don't want investors to come in and buy the token. I would want the token to go to the gamers who want to stay in the ecosystem. I don't need that initial pump or anything like that unless you need funding. But I'm intrigued. How would you launch a game right now? I personally would just launch, try and get users that like the game to have like a core base. Like I think Pixels did this pretty well as far as I'm aware. I don't know fully how it works, but they're obviously killing it. And then I would launch a token.
Yet, so obviously.
Yeah. So, yeah. I thought there was berries or something. I don't know.
They have berries, but it's like, that's kind of like their SLP or Unum. It's like the game token that makes the economy work. So once you have a live game, they're like, they don't have a governance token. I think the Pixel token is the thing that's coming out. That was what I meant. So it's,
Oh, okay, sure. So that's like, I think Q1 or something. I saw it. I tweeted about it yesterday. So I would personally do it that way. I mean, I need to go through the weeds of it all to figure out why and if it would work. But you want your core community that are there just because they love the IP and build that around that. And then when you launch a token further down the line, it would make a little bit more sense. So you got the right people for the game that are staying around.
So I agree with you. It really depends on a couple of things. What genre game you're doing, because I think that really affects the token strategy and like the NFT strategy. So you got to figure out what's your genre, then what are the key things that need to be tokenized, and then what is the model of earnings, or is there any? I think what you're describing is the dream. I mean, if you can make a game that is fun and attracts people without like an earning element, then dude, you've got a great game. And if you add earning on top of that, that's just a great amplifier on a great game. So hats off to you. That is also hard to do. So I think for a lot of these blockchain games, in the case of Laguna games that make crypto unicorns, They were a Web 2 mobile game studio. They made that Game of Thrones game, the Warner Brothers one. It's like a white label gig, the 4X game. So a lot of experience in game design, and as a company said, hey, you know what? Let's not continue in this space that's kind of been figured out. Even if we fail, we'd rather be early movers in this new space, and it's just all so much more valuable. We can be early here. If we fail, we can leverage it. If we succeed, we're going to be one of the first ones. So let's get in here. Let's get a DAO going. Let's figure it out. It's like I said before, Axie's awesome, but there's a lot of question marks here. Let's just change some of this and do it our way, you know? We'll be Digimon. Yeah. Digimon still kicked ass. You know, a lot of kids loved Digimon.
Absolutely. I haven't told many of this, but there is something coming that I'm looking at. So no VCs, self-funded, UE, Unreal Engine 5, a different concept. There's hundreds of shooters. There's hundreds of different games that are very similar.
Oh,
so I'll keep you posted over the next month of how that plays out.
No, so I'm really curious, and that segues to something I wanted to ask you about Illuvium, where I feel like they took the opposite approach, where and this. Please correct me anywhere I'm wrong here, because I'm not that deep in the Illuvium ecosystem. But it was really like the token first was the primary product, and I think a lot of people made a lot of money on the Illuvium token before they had any kind of gaming product. Is that correct?
I mean, if you go to the start of the project, they never did an NFT sale, so they didn't need the funding because they already had the funding. But in regards to players, they were speculating with the token. Like you can't make Illuvium token within the game right now. Or the idea is the incentives is leaderboard, be the top player, or that's really about it.
But
now,
for a long time, you've been able to stake it, right? That's kind of been the primary thing to do with the Illuvium token is DeFi. Yeah. It's been a DeFi play.
Yeah, so the next bit I was going to get to was the staking mechanism is that you have the token, you stake it, you get your percentage yield, and then that's what basically inflates your token until it runs out in June next year, roughly. And then there'll be no more staking, and then, you know, it's interesting to see what happens after that. So,
okay. Wow, that's fascinating. So it's a staking model that then shifts to only in-game rewards, leaderboards, that kind of stuff, like proof of play type stuff, essentially.
Yeah, I think they were lucky because at the end of the day, Axie was the forefront and people could learn off it. So I think they looked at it going, okay, the breeding model for them, which is nothing wrong with the breeding model in Axie at all. For them, they flipped it. So instead of being an unlimited supply, there is a deflationary supply. So as you breed, you don't breed. If you capture an alluvial, there'll be less and less available until the next set comes out. So they learned that from Axie. Certain things like that. So NFTs are more rarer. There was no pre-sale. Everyone's on an even playing field. Money doesn't do anything within the game to make you better or anything. So, yeah.
And it's an ecosystem play, right? Like there's multiple different games. So what are the different games that are available or becoming available? I know there's an auto battler.
Yeah.
What else is there?
So I hate auto battlers. It's so funny that I'm actually in this space. And I played the PvP that just came out recently, and I'm like, oh, I can see how this is massively addictive. It's like chess, but with high graphics, right? So right now there's Arena, which is the PvP style or survival mode where you go up against an AI. You have Overworld, which is like your creature capture. So you like think of World of Warcraft or a Pokemon where you're running around, you know, gathering resources and capturing these alluvials. Then you have Illuvium 0, which is like a city builder game, which basically fuels the whole ecosystem with the fuel. So it's like if you played a city builder, you capture fuel, and then other players can buy that off you, and there's a reward there that sort of fuels the whole Illuvium ecosystem. And then they have Illuvatars, which is like a collection game.
Okay.
Like
Legends of Inari, kind of? Like you go around, you collect creatures?
No. So you just like, you like a PFP, like you would in like these 10,000 NFT collections, but you want to fill out your album, you get points on top of the leaderboard, you'll get rewards. So that's been pretty successful, even though, again,
is any of it mobile, or is it all desktop?
So Illuvium 0 will be mobile, and then Arena will be mobile, but that's more so next year. They're still going to build that out and you know, fine tune it to mobile. So I think Arena will do really well on mobile, but again, they just more time until that all comes out. So
gotcha. So what are you most worried about right now? Like of all the things going on in Illuvium, what's the bear case? Like what keeps you up at night in terms of the risk of failure with this project?
I would say the politics within. I understand it's a business. Things take a little bit. For my personal opinion, is that I like to move quickly, obviously safely, but quickly. And I think some things are getting delayed more so than what they have to. And then I think on top of that, marketing wise. I think it's hard for Web3 games to market. And again, I feel like marketing needs to be strengthened a lot more. Now, they don't have a game out realistically till Q1 next year, or it could be Q2 if it gets pushed. And then I think that's when they'll go marketing efforts. But I find that there's a lot of things that they could do now that they're not capturing on or capitalizing on. But again, they've got in-house people. They know what they're doing. They're professionals at it. But these are the things that I would question.
I've seen a lot of churn, honestly. I feel like I keep seeing on LinkedIn and other places, someone's like, I was let go or I'm looking for opportunities. Like, oh, another marketing person. And I think there were a lot of folks that thought some traditional marketing stuff would translate. And, you know, our current director of marketing at Laguna, the Australian guy, we got him from the community. He just so happened to be someone who was running a marketing agency, full-time job, user acquisition, all this kind of stuff. He was sort of a growth hacker back in the day with like email lists and stuff. He's a huge unicorn player. Like he has hundreds of unicorns. So what's cool about that is when you find people that are not imposters, but legitimately have these skills, his salary's normal, but he has this huge vested interest of, well, if I really crush it and make this thing work, the value of all my unicorns go up. So he's like double invested, you know, like it's a job like anyone else and you take pride in your work, but you have this extra scalable thing of like the more we keep this alive and the more scrappy we are, the more likely this thing is to make it to the next cycle and have this new audience that's going to see us. And, you know, for us with the ecosystem, there is a network effect that it's not linear. You know, you release all these products and all of a sudden it starts to connect and hopefully inflect upwards. And I hope we're at the beginning of that inflection point. You know, everyone says that. I don't want to be delusional, but it does feel good. Like I said, this recent patch was huge. This really shifted the paradigm of the game, makes space for some of the new releases. And, we're shifting to more active gameplay. That's been the resounding feedback is, hey, like the set it and forget it stuff is cool. You know, farming strategy is fun, but it's also cool to play games. You know, like Rainbow Rumble, like let's go compete. I want to play like real games, air quotes. That's like kind of the words of our community. So we're building in that direction. And I think we agree. It kind of makes sense, right? Yeah.
It takes time to get there as well. You got to go through the steps like anything. And I'm intrigued to see, what are your thoughts on all the games coming out now with like whether there's 100 shooters or another variation of something or a turn-based combat? Are you excited about any other games? Like I know obviously you've got to be biased to crypto unicorns. Well, is there anything that's stimulating you?
I don't really have to be. This is going to sound so shitty to say, but I'm pretty bullish on what's happening on the Ronin network right now, man. Like Polygon is struggling, right? I think as a network, the Polygon meme, Polygon with an E, is going from meme to reality. And that's like actually worrisome. I think their future, like kind of ZK, CDP tech is all like, I'm kind of bullish, you know, kind of optimistic, but Arbitrum's doing cool stuff. You know, Avalanche is doing cool stuff. There's a lot of ways that games can now like even just launch optimism backed subnets or whatever. I don't know what their word is, but you know, same kind of deal. And they're all pretty great. You know, and then Ronin's there also with a lot of cool IP. So you can't deny what's happening with pixels and all that stuff.
So I want to be devil's advocate and have a bit of pushback. Yeah,
please do.
I definitely agree. Ronin is killing it. This is my worrisome, and this is the whole immutable Ronin thing. That I think there's a space coming up today that I'm jumping on with a couple of the other boys. Like I always want to preface it. I want Web3 gaming to win, but if these style of games, a Ronin killing it with daily active users and everything, say immutable, just as an example, it could be any chain. It doesn't really matter. Say all these games come out Q1, Q2, Q3, all next year, which is what's about to happen, right? Do all these gamers move from here, if it's mobile game, PC game, depending on what they're playing on, and come over to these, I guess, quote unquote, better looking graphics, more different gameplay, I guess, do you reckon they would jump over, then the Ronin chain will drop drastically? Or do you think they'll stay for the community because they've made friends now and they wouldn't leave? But what happens if the money can be made somewhere else? Do they follow the money or do they stay loyal to the chain and the community?
It's a good question. So I guess maybe just to make sure I understand, to summarize, you feel like the graphics and the kind of PC first approach is a key model to really attract like the real gaming market. Is that?
No, I would say, well, not just that, but I would just say the better gameplay, or they've had 2-3 years building in the darkness. All of these, I think there's like 40 or 50% of all the games are coming out next year on Immutable. And all games are getting built on Immutable. It's about 70% of all new games are getting built there. I don't understand the deals that they've put in place or anything. I'm just scared that the Ronin Network people will come because they're making money there, like we've talked about, like extracting.
Yeah.
Do they leave this it doesn't matter about the graphics per se, but a better experience, I could say, because they've had more time to build.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a really good question. If you had asked me this 6 months ago, I would have said, yeah, I think you're right. I would have said that's exactly why I quit. You know, they didn't fire me. I left. I think they probably would have let me go because esports seems like it was getting sunset. But still, I mean, I left because I didn't have confidence in the direction where a lot of core things were going. I didn't like that the DAO was supposedly 4 years old and still barely on its legs. And I looked at little crypto unicorns with a $2 million market cap. It's like, wow, they've had 36 proposals. One of them was to change the cost of the breeding fees. Like, this DAO actually has control over the fucking core game. And it's easier on a smaller scale. Don't get me wrong. There's way bigger implications with AXS because it's a way bigger market cap. But that was a big one example of a vertical that just irked me, that it felt like we weren't taking seriously and no one was listening to me seriously when I was saying we should take it seriously. Same with some of the marketing rhetoric, but it's also really worked for them. And it's two opposite sides of the paradigm, and now I see some of the value to it. They really do have this insanely loyal group that are ride or die with them. And it's going to be hard to emulate. Like, not that first mover advantage takes you forever, but now that they've got vertical progression out, their economy's kind of teed up, they've recovered from the hack, they've done some kind of instrumental things. And this group in Vietnam they're weird, man. It's like the tortoise and the hare. They're never going to give up on this project. The people in Vietnam have been like, a lot of them are set for life because of this. You know, there aren't many billion-dollar companies in Vietnam. So it's a crazy, unique company in that regard. And if you're hiring, you know, developers that mostly speak Vietnamese first, you're choosing from a pretty select pool of individuals. And they've had to grow a lot of talent in-house as a result of that. You know, like young graduates that show an interest in blockchain and molding them. It's a long-term play, right? So when I was there, I think a lot of that was still coming into focus, and it was chaotic, and I lost faith. Clearly, it's coming into focus because I don't know if you've used their products recently, but it's pretty okay. It's pretty good. Like, I almost want to hate on it, and I kind of can't. I spent $1,000 on Axies a couple weeks ago. You know, I bought a couple collectors Axies. I'm gonna level them up. I mean, I'm hoping to flip them. Don't get me wrong. I guess I'm an extractor now too, but I want to level them up. You know, the collectibles now give you these slips. You do gotcha pulls. It gives you resources. Use those resources to level them up. You can choose which parts to upgrade. They change graphics. They've done a great job leaking the campaign. And Pixels has replaced the failed land gameplay. That was another reason why I wanted to leave. I don't know if did you watch the stream that I did with Phil with land gameplay, where we revealed like the big plan for land after he took over?
I didn't watch it, but I know what you're talking about.
It was April it was like right after I moved to Puerto Rico. So April last year. And it was just a total disaster. It was like this black and white presentation where we were going to level with the community, and it just showed that our land design team was totally out of touch and not even close to the spec that was promised, and all these blog posts from years ago, and all these items weren't going to do anything, estates weren't going to do anything. It was like this sandboxy game instead of more of like an actual land game, and it just shook me into reality of like, wait a minute, I'm a landholder. I don't like what I'm seeing. Like, why didn't I look at this presentation? Jesus Christ. Like, there was a weird thing that Phil did in that presentation where at the end, he put in, okay, Q&A, here's questions I've taken from the community. And I don't want to look weak. I'm going to take the hard questions. I'm like, all right, I admire that, Phil. That's legit, like a smart tactic. But the problem was for like 90% of the hard questions, our honest answer was, I don't really know. So I'm like, I didn't really look at the document. I just took his word for it. And then we're live on the thing, and I'm reading these questions, and he just says, I don't know, 8 times in a row. Then after the thing's over, people were DMing me like, dude, thank you so much for grilling Phil. Like, I can't believe he didn't have any answers. That you made him look so bad, but it was just, I'm like,
God.
Oh, I didn't even mean, like, oh, he was just so self-inflicted, and it was just such a disaster, you know? So obviously I stayed for a long time after that, and I was pretty disconnected from land, but this whole ramble is a way to say, Pixels is closer to the vision that Axie had for land than the current product they have for Axie Land. And I think that's why it's going so nectar on Ronin, is because it's tapping into this thing that they've been teeing up for literally like 3 years, dude. Like, land has been around forever. So there's all these people with this dream of playing this land with all these other people on Ronin, and now they can do that. And if they start integrating Axie stuff into that, like, fuck, dude, I don't know. I see potential there. And I feel like they're starting to hit a network. Unless these numbers are like totally fake and just like, you know, alien world level 60% bots or something. I don't think that's the case. I'm not saying it's the case. I'm just highlighting that that's the only reason where my argument doesn't make sense. If this is a genuine network effect and it's mostly like real people, then these numbers are fucking promising, dude. You know?
Yeah, I would. I think the core thing of this is, one, are the numbers real? Which I do say, I would assume like there's going to get bots in any game, like, you know, but I would say if even if 80% plus is real, then they have a network effect. They're in a very strong position. So they are real players.
Yeah.
Two, is the community so loyal that they wouldn't jump ship when they could, basically? So I think when, not just necessarily immutable, but any of all these games, like I have spoken to 40, 50 different Web3 games in the past month, and they're all coming out Q1 to Q3 next year. Now, when they all come out, do all these loyal players leave for another game that makes them more money or whatever these other offers are? Or, because right now the choice is very limited. So this is I think this is the battle where I look at it going, will they stay or will they go? I don't mind either way. Like, I just want everyone to, again, preface it, Web3 game win. Yeah. But it's just going to be interesting to see. And no one will have the right answer. We just have to watch it all play out.
Yeah, no, it's a valid concern. I definitely put it in that category. And I think Axie is now being a lot more careful about making sure they're driving value to their core assets. That's part of this vertical progression of, you know, the floor of Origins is going up. And as you know, as you've probably seen, Ron's up like 300% or something in the last month and a half. So disproportionate to the markets. You know, markets have been doing well, but Ron ripped extra. It's just like Illuvium, dude. When token go up, no matter what, even if it's speculation, people ride that, and that is associated with the project, the network, and it helps maintain that network effect.
It's a selling point in marketing.
Yeah.
It's like, did you see your Discord? I don't know. I was in Illuvium, and then when the token went from like a double to triple to whatever in that space, I think a lot of projects did, but Ronan definitely did way more. Everyone just came back who you haven't seen for months, if not a year. And then they're like, yeah, what's going on in the ecosystem? And then it's quite funny, right? And then as soon as the prices like just started to level out again, then people started disappearing again. It's such a marketing thing with the token. And I saw Ron just skyrocket. So I'm intrigued to see,
but there's
again,
like
is that what's driving
gamers? So like, I also think it's the real answer is if there's a combination on both sides and someone's going to figure out this PC core gamer thing. I kind of thought it might be the dead drop Dr. Disrespect project. Getting a little more bearish. The last snapshot I did not particularly enjoy. You know, it feels like it should run a little better at this point, and it feels like they're going less Web3, which is maybe a good call. But anyway, someone's going to crack the code on that. And I also think Axie is going more for the mobile first audience. I mean, I've heard founders say, regardless if you like Illuvium, they just fundamentally believe mobile is the thesis. So it's just a totally different thesis within the same umbrella of Web3 and digital ownership. And I do think there's enough users in the world that both can succeed for sure. So I do think Illuvium and Axie will both like be pumping in the next cycle. If you know, just to be clear.
And they'll have their own place. They'll have their spot. But I'm curious with data wise. I don't have anything only from what I see on some sort of like DApp radar and stuff. Is Axie and Pixel, are they majority 90% or something plus all on mobile, or is there PCs, or do they play on the web browser? How does it all break down? Because if that's what their player base is, then they're not coming over to Illuvium, but they might go to another mobile game potentially.
Correct. Yeah, sure. I think I don't know either, but I think it's a pretty widespread now across their products because the Axie products you can play on. It's a downloadable, but it just runs on your computer, super light. You don't play the core game through the browser, but you still breed Axies through the browser. So like that's at the heart of the ecosystem, right? So there's just a lot of browser shit going on. But now they also have the Mavis Hub launcher, which helps connect all of it together because it is more about downloadables, I think. That's what they're trying to push. So it's, you know, it basically is just browser stuff in its own frame, but you know, it feels like a unique product. But yeah, you're definitely right. And I mean, we think about the same thing with crypto unicorns. We've seen similar, the RBW tokens up like 400% in the last month or month and a half. And you know, there's a lot of different contributors to it, and getting attention from, you know, different influencers and getting people into the ecosystem is how you start generating some of that network effect. But some of it's also market sentiment and seeing people have a little bit of faith in these game protocols. And when you get so low market cap, it doesn't take that much market attention to swing you back upwards a little bit and, you know, kick you back into the conversation. It is unfortunate that people are really driven by earnings, but it depends on your structure. You know, to go back to your question before about token first, I do think it's better if you can leverage a game first and, you know, find like, I like NFTs that level up. I think dynamic NFTs are really a key thing for me. And, you know, the unicorns are, you lock them into the game protocol, and that's because they can do stuff and your land actually upgrades. And when you go to sell your land, all those buildings and the state of it get carried on with it, you know? So when you lock stuff into the protocol, it lets us change them and move them. And now we're going to have gems coming in January. That opens up vertical progression for the unicorns. So I'm very bullish on that concept. Anytime I hear games talk about dynamic NFTs, to me, great use case. All right, you're giving digital ownership and you're letting people customize stuff. You know, as much as Subducks haven't done anything, I love that my Megatoad was something that I made. DIY NFTs, you know? I love it. I think there's a lot of merit to it.
100%. It makes you feel emotionally more connected, psychologically. You're more attached to that game. I think there will be more of that in the future, and it's definitely it's needed, right?
So when you saw the Illuvium numbers, though, I'm curious. Like, were you jazzed? Were you disappointed? Did you feel like that's par for the course given where we're at? Because I guess I'll share my. I don't want to taint your response. So
So this was my response. I looked at it like this. There was 1.5 million in signups. Like I knew personally that I'm like, okay, let's be realistic here. They got that from the bull market realistically with speculation. A lot of these will be bots. A lot of these will be people that don't care anymore. But when I paired that with the engagement, the community, it's Illuvium. Like they are the forefront. They are the AAA game that's leading, to be honest, I think by several years. Obviously with Star Atlas and everything else with AAA quality wise. And I was expecting a lot higher numbers, if I'm honest, because if you have 1.5 million in signups, you have the whole community, you have Cointelegraph, promoting you, you have all these things. It's free to play. Anyone can play this now. Like, is the Axie community, the Ronin community, are they going to come over and play it and test it out? They can. It's all you can do is download it. And this comes back, and I looked at the numbers when I saw, and I was, I'm not saying I was disappointed, but I just thought it'd be a lot more, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, data shows everything. And if I look at Axie and Ronin, and like if they're the real numbers, which it seems like it is, or close enough to, minus maybe bots with every game, they're killing it. Like they are winning. And I am intrigued to see the marketing efforts with Illuvium. Obviously, they don't have core loops. There's no game out. So this could be the reason why. And it just shows you that people are in here to extract value. And I think once the main game comes out in Q1 or Q2, if it does get delayed, that is the telling tale signs to me to go, yep, everything's in place. The NFTs are there. If people aren't downloading it now, then the community doesn't care and they're just staying where they are, or they're just not wanting to extract value, or they don't have the PC/mobile capability to use Illuvium. So short answer, I guess, a little bit disappointed, but not even concerned realistically, because it is just the PvP side of things.
Interesting. Okay. No,
love to know your thoughts. Love to know your thoughts.
No, it's a fair answer, and I think I'm not that far off, if I'm not being edgy on Twitter. But it was surprisingly low to me, and I admit I did immediately think back to, this is like an old guy moment, but when Facebook first started doing video, their numbers were through the roof. And years later, they got sued, and we found out that the way they defined a view was much more liberal than what the real platforms defined as a view, like Twitch or YouTube or Twitter or any of the others, where you had to actually click play, unmute, watch it for a couple seconds to count as one view. And for Facebook, all the videos would autoplay, and if you just started scrolling through the feed and scrolled past a video, if you technically looked at it for a quarter of a second, that's one view.
Wow.
So there was this whole thing of like, wow, all these marketers were crushing it on Facebook, and look at all this. And after a while, people realized, like, these numbers don't add up. Like, I don't get the conversions through Facebook like I do through these other funnels, despite the way higher impression rate and all this other stuff. And there was some lawsuit that happened, and whatever. And now it's more even. But we're probably in a little bit of that phase, just general analogy, metaphorically, right now with Web3, in terms of how we even see people conflate daily active user with daily active wallet, with counting transactions. Like, different ecosystems incentivize, some have very strict no multi-account, like one user, one wallet rule. Other games have basically no rule about it. And it's kind of like, as long as you're not directly abusing the system with like a botnet or something, like, whatever. Go ahead. You use all the tools to your disposal. If it's you and 5 wallets, in some games, that's a security best practice, is to spread things across multiple wallets. It's not even to pump numbers. It's just, I want to move things around. I want this person to have access to this, whatever the use case is. So it's tricky, and then how do you rate a scholar versus a manager if you try to draw the difference between those users, which I steer away from that argument because I consider just scholars users. Every game has a spectrum of value users. They're all still users and players at the end of the day. If they're playing your game, they're playing your game. The reason why is kind of secondary to that. But I expected the numbers to be a lot higher just given the amount of hype and money and numbers. Like you said, 1.5 million signups. That's a lot of signups. You'd expect a higher conversion rate there. I know it's not even close to 1-to-1, but I mean, dude, for context, Crypto Unicorns has like 2,300 monthly active users, something like that. So we're not huge. That translates to like 1,200, 1,300 DAU. But that's for being around for a year and a half and consistently having between that 1,250 and 1,750 number of daily active users. We've got a hardcore community of unicorn heads that really fucking like this thing. And I'm really proud of that. But I also understand that we're still a humble community. We're not that huge. So just comparing those numbers, it's not 1-to-1, and their numbers were bigger than ours, but we're way smaller.
But like
smaller.
they're like Illuvium spending $1 million a month, right, around that area of producing this AAA game. And I'm intrigued to see, like, once leaderboard incentives come in, does that change the game? Like, that, I think that's coming in soon, as far as I can say.
I would hope so. It'll be a great test.
Because that to me is, okay, now people will come in, they'll spend retention rate and everything like that. But going back to something you said earlier, which I thought I would mention is, and I have no proof of this, right? I have no proof of this, but I get the suspicion that there is a lot of Web3 games out there that are actually buying their own NFTs, buying their collections up, buying their token up. It's a great marketing play. So they'll take things off the market, or say they have like 100 wallets that bought 5 of their Genesis NFTs or other things or whatever it is, just so they can say sold out in 10 minutes, sold out in 24 hours. So I find that disingenuous, but at the same time, as I look from a marketing hat, I do understand, because then some people might not even try your game if you didn't have posted about that. So it's so weird. Like, we're in such a funny time. It's like we said earlier, it's the blueprint time. We're looking for that blueprint of what is the main thing to keep the games going. Like, I look at Big Time as another great game that's popping off. Yeah. And then I get concerned because I'm like, their economy and the amount of money they're giving away. Like, I did the math. They're giving away $20 million in January, this one coming up, or something like that. I worked out in their token.
Pretty good marketing budget.
And I know their runway is through the roof. Hats off to them. They've killed it. They've deserved it. They've worked through the bear and everything else. I don't know what crashes and what falls and what wins, but obviously, like, in my eyes, 95+% of these games will die, which is needed because it happens in every industry. But I think we're just both here to see the ride of this whole next couple of years.
So two things I really appreciate about you. One, that you have this positive outlook and you do focus on hey, we're small, so let's generally work together. And I remember that from the old MOBA days, Dota versus League of Legends. And there were a lot of years it was like, hey, we're kind of at enemies with each other, but this rivalry fuels us. And from the outside, we're basically the same game. So, like, let's not dunk on other outsiders. Let's have somewhat of a united front as a genre so we can all grow the ship, and then the pie gets bigger for everyone. Yeah. But I appreciate that, Axie is my thing. Unicorns is my thing. CyberKongs, I'm newer to, but I've got a Genesis now. I'm excited about what they're going to build on Ronin 2. I didn't even mention CyberKongs, but excited about that ecosystem. I just bought a bunch of banana, bullish on the token as well. Another one I plan to sell, but I think the Kongs community is all about that, right? It's a community of degens. I appreciate that you're into Illuvium, and not to say we shouldn't check out new games or be closed-minded, but it drives me crazy to see other influencers just constantly be shilling the flavor of the month and be posting these like tier lists of all these different games and all this like conflating all of these different ideas of like this game that's full launch, this game that isn't, one's in pre-alpha, one's just an idea. And it's just obnoxious. I don't know. I need to get that off my chest. And I just appreciate that you're more level-headed, but I've seen moments where you're critical of Illuvium, and it's like good to be generally bullish, but still be critical of bad decisions, and even good projects can make bad decisions, and bad decisions can be corrected with appropriate pressure from community and that kind of stuff. And to me, that's just the wheels of Web3 turning, and it's good to see.
Yeah.
And just appreciate it, man. Keep it up. It's good to have you back. I hope the travels were refreshing, but you're back just in time for the next cycle, dude. Good timing.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words, and I'll just say right back at you. To be fair, like you've kept to your true self. You'll speak up when needed, and you won't let someone come push you over about anything, and you'll let your voice be heard. And I think we need more of that. So likewise.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we're working on it. It's tough out there. So yeah, I need to keep my eyes open. I haven't played big time, and I actually haven't played Pixels either, to be honest. I've just been reading about it. It's been on my to-do list. I finally did try Pirate Nations, which was a big step there on Arbitrum. So I am expanding my roots. I'm slow and steady. I like to pick stuff and dive in. I'm not one of the shotgun approach kind of. I was always like that with games. When my first one was Diablo 2. It was like the only game I played. Then I get into World of Warcraft. It was like the only game I played. Then it was Dota 2. So it's been my thing. It was Axie for a while, and I got into Axie because I just genuinely liked it. I had some of those Saturday nights just playing Axie and drinking a few beers with Axie Classic, and like, wow, this is really. It has that damn I fucked up. All right, go again feeling, and like that Dota has, and these other really hardcore games. Like that's why shooters are so replayable, because the strategy, but it's almost impossible to execute it perfectly every time with all the variants of what other players are trying to do to outsmart you, and it gives you infinite replayability almost. It's
yeah. Well, I think we're in an exciting time. I think we should all enjoy the ride of the next couple of years, bull or bear. It doesn't really matter. It's there's no blueprint, like we said, and we're going to see things fail and go up and down, left and right, and we're all going to be a part of it. And if we stick around, it's just going to be a fun ride. Like it's exciting because like people are going to come up with things we haven't even thought of, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here for literally the tech. Like I genuinely, I'm not here. I hate saying that because it's such a cliche. Oh, I'm here for the tech, but like I'm genuinely just I like ownership. I like this trading assets. I like these fun viral moments. So that's why I'm here, and I can't wait to see it.
I love it, dude. No, I had a chat with one of my friends that still works at Sky Mavis a couple months ago. So I was at 3XP earlier this year in California, that like esports blockchain conference that was a little ahead of the time. The esports games aren't quite there yet, but. We were chatting on the phone, and he just said, gaming's cool, but for me, this really is about a more fundamental economic freedom. It's about the future of money, and gaming's a great application of that, and Ethereum's really cool, but also money's fucking important, and Bitcoin is also important, and just like gaming is marketing for this philosophical movement, and that's in my head, that's how I see it, and I love that the intersection of the things that I know and like, games and esports and community and now blockchain are all starting to intersect. But I was mining Litecoin in 2017, dude. I was fascinated with this shit way back when it was just money, and just thinking about the implications of, whoa, this is like an organism now. Like this anonymous dude or set of dudes or dudettes just created it, and it's there. And now I remember one of my favorite arguments against Bitcoin is hey, China's just going to shut it down one day once it gets big enough. And it's just like, tell me you don't understand how it works without saying you don't understand how it works. Like, holy shit. You think China hasn't tried to take down Bitcoin already? They fucking hate Bitcoin. They've been blocking the front end as much as they can. But you can't stop Bitcoin as a thing. You can only prevent access to it within walled gardens. But globally as a thing, it's it's out there. Ethereum is the same. It's out there. And that's why I love EVM. And as to say one edgy thing before we wrap this up, man, it's why I don't like Cardano. I would love to get your thoughts on Cardano right now. And I was just at a conference, the Rare Evo. I don't know if you remember Rand Corp. He's from the Axie community and owns some unicorns. And him and his crew, like Lucid Lounge, those guys. Okay. They started doing their own conference, and they started doing it in Colorado. Charles Hoskinson lives in Boulder, so he's a Colorado guy, and the Cardano community gravitated towards their first one, and now they're on event 3. It's coming up in Vegas, and it's like Cardano's seriously there. It's a presence, and Unicorns had a booth at the last one in Denver. It was in like August. So I saw Charles speak. I waved at him. I said, "Hi, Charles," and he looked at me like, "Hello, unicorn guy," and I met a small subset of the Cardano community, and it was illuminating and strange. And I guess I'll say more, but I would just love to hear your high-level thoughts as someone in the space of just, like, what do you think about Cardano, dude?
Sure. I mean, I've been in crypto for 8 years, roughly, give or take, somewhere in there. I feel like I've seen a lot of things in and out. This is my thesis with investing, which matters to Cardano, is I try and look at the team. I look at what they're problem solving. I don't buy meme coins. It's not my thing. Hats off to people that do it. I look at things. How are they changing something? How can this be the future? That's how I look at things. Now with Cardano, they've been around for a long time. I don't see much on their chain. I don't see what different things they're doing. If anything, they're sort of by themselves. They're not interconnected. They have not a cult, but it's their community is very strong. Like it's like a Star Atlas. They're very strong. And if you go at them, they hate it. But why are you buying Cardano? Why are you buying their token? Like, sure, okay, speculation of something going to happen on it, but I just don't see it. I do not see how it's such a thing. There's nothing on your chain. It's dead.
All right, so I'm gonna try to steelman a little bit here. All right, and
sure, please do.
I feel bad if Charles ever sees this and goes, "You're not saying it right." But from what I understood, Charles thinks that there's sees crypto as there's three big forces. There's Bitcoin. The first one started the revolution, but now it's stagnant, stale, and they're just not going to change. So we have to adapt for things to grow. So that's why he's like, Bitcoin's just this whole, we're never going to change, we're gold, is too stagnant. Okay, Ethereum, he's like, that's the other big one. It started this whole world computer thing, but unfortunately, they never want to do on-chain governance. Vitalik has mocked it, and it's just never going to happen. So we discard it, and that leaves us with Cardano. That's number 3. Because they're going to solve on-chain governance, and that's their big thing. When people say Charles, the dictator, you know, oh, you're the Vitalik of this thing, and the same things you criticize Vitalik for, you fall victim to. I think the counter argument I've seen most commonly argued on Twitter by Cardano fans is he will step down once we solve on-chain governance and make this an autonomous thing. And I think that's brilliant because I don't know that on-chain governance that is just autonomous. If that, I don't know, autonomous is a big word. I don't know if that's what they believe, but that there's this point that it just works and Charles dies and Cardano lives on and it's awesome without any foundation or like, you know, just all on-chain governance. I don't know, man. It sounds like he's never going to step down. That's what it sounds like to me. And I hate to say that because I know I'm just now officially a hater and whatever. So I need to do another one of these. Like, you know, you're an Illuvium guy. I need to bring on a real Cardano guy and get red pilled. Maybe this is a series. Zyori gets red pilled, and you know the joke is that I never actually get red pilled. But that's their big thing, though, is on-chain governance. That's and like at the conference, that's when Charles was talking. He did the opening like keynote, and people were fucking woo, yeah, like it was like being at a Trump rally when he started talking about the on-chain. Like he's a really great salesman, dude. I wish I was recording it. It was a moment where he said, just think about the conversations you're going to have this weekend and the impact they're going to have on the ecosystem. And people are
I don't see the vision. I just genuinely don't. I don't get the scientific papers. I get he's super smart. I get the whole idea. I just don't see it. I see Ethereum being the winner. I see L2s or L3s, whatever you want to say. Yeah, I see this. That's the win. And I see Cosmos, maybe multi-chain, all this sort of stuff. That's more likely. I just don't see Cardano where it fits in. Yes, they can stay around forever because they've got the funding, realistically.
Yeah.
But I had good luck to them. It's not for me. Their token doesn't do anything in my eyes. Maybe I'm misinformed.
Yeah, well, so there's just a lot to build. It's like reinventing the wheel is slow and tedious. And I know that they're now building hooks into the EVM ecosystem. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. That's the whole point of EVM is we don't have to be on islands anymore. So why did we do this, man? It seems so crazy. And if you've read the Lara Shin book, then you know it's common to have a slant against Charles, and now it is a little culty. I don't know if you're familiar with that book, Lara Shin. She kind of
I haven't. I know her though.
The Kryptonians, and she did this kind of it's a overview of the history of Ethereum, and it goes through the DAO and the DAO hack and how Ethereum split off, and basically Charles is kind of the bad guy. She writes him as this, like, you know, the people describe him as a semi-sociopathic, just this weird liar dude that was really hard to work with and that was ousted from the Ethereum Foundation, then went and made his own thing. You know, obviously, there's two sides to every story, and I'm sure the fans of Charles reject that and see it some completely different way. But they've done some really good work marketing and tapping into normal people. Dude, I met a guy at that conference that was wearing overalls and had this long beard that was literally a farmer in Colorado and a plumber and was just like, dude, I heard about this Cardano thing, and I don't want to get left behind. I heard some young people were making some free money, and I want to get some free money too. So I'm just here to absorb and check it out. I was like, how the fuck did they find you, man? How, like,
on a farm, farm.
Like, so they do something that has brought in this just like normie group that's open-minded to the philosophy, and that is the core of their strength. I don't know how they've done it. I agree with you largely, but that's the only part to not sleep on. Like, I also don't think it's going anywhere. I hate to use the C word, but yeah, there was a lot of double speak. Charles is just not. I like Vitalik a little more. When Tom Brady tweeted at Vitalik and said, "I'm a big fan," Vitalik responded by saying, "I don't know who the fuck you are, man, but that's cool. Someone told me you play football."
That makes me so happy.
That makes
me so happy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the guy. Yeah, agree.
So, I don't know. I don't think you want to put too much stock in any one person, and we don't want to idolize Vitalik too much. I feel like we made that mistake with Elon a little. I liked Elon more before he got this kind of. There's good and bad to it, but 10, 15 years ago, he had a different vibe, and I was a little more attracted to that vibe.
Sure.
We'll see how it all plays out, dude. The, advertisers fuck off thing was pretty fascinating. Really curious to see how that'll play out. I like it, dude. I like a little honesty. I'm a pursuit of truth guy, so
Great.
We'll see. Well, shit, man, this has been super fun. I'm really glad we could hop on. I'm glad you could make some time for me. Any final thoughts? Anything else you're really looking forward to outside of Illuvium, or anything else we talked about? Any crypto shout outs you want to throw out to the world before we wrap it up?
I would just say be careful investing, know what you're investing in. Nah, look, I just want Web3 games to win. I don't care who wins. I don't care what chain. Come on, let's all work together. I know I'm going to be this patriotic and it's going to sound like a broken record, but shit, like, who cares who wins? We all, like, what does it say? The ship rides all tides or something like that.
Rising tides rise all ships, I think.
And just speak your truth. Like, let's go with that. Like, just be open to who you are as a person, and fuck, if you want to start yelling at other games or anything like that, or crypto projects, go for it. But I'm here just to win in all of general thesis. And a little caveat is I do have something coming out soon, and I'll announce it on my Twitter and stuff with something that's sort of my next steps in the crypto space, including nexts, which sort of makes sense down the line. So we'll keep you guys informed.
Dude, no, I can't wait. And I got to take a moment to chill. Dude, my second comic book is out. I don't know. Last time we talked,
congrats.
I had one comic. This is number 2. It's on Amazon. There's a free version on Webtoons. Dude, it's Cyberkongs. So it's like me and Cloud White in the Kongs world. It's pretty dope. The prints turned out awesome. It took us a year to make it, but I'm super proud of it. It's a story that I wrote, and a single artist and a couple of folks colored it in. I got a guy in the Philippines that's just incredible. And dude,
congratulations, man.
Shout out to my comic, and shout out to Cloud White for letting me use his likeness. I always loved Kevin Smith and the Jay and Silent Bob vibe, so I didn't want to make it too derivative. But
love that.
There's some moments of like, oh, okay, I sort of see where I'm a Jersey guy. He's a Jersey guy, so you got to pay homage. But no, awesome, dude. Really appreciate it. So we'll wrap this thing up. I'm multicasting for the first time, so we'll figure out how to turn this all off. And guys, go follow Sam. It's DJ Sam Withers on Twitter. What is your main platform? Are you TikToking? Are you Instagramming? Or like, what's your main squeeze? Is it Twitter?
Just Twitter. Don't worry about the rest. That's all old stuff with Love Island and whatnot. So
yeah, sweet. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome, bro. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll catch you next time. All right. Let's see. All right, I cut the recording. I'm going to go. I have an exit screen here. Hang on. Bear with me. All right. Let's use the Crypto Unicorns one. There you go. Offline. See you later, guys. All right, everybody. Appreciate it. Sam, seriously, dude. Thanks a lot. If you ever need anything, hop in my DMs, like happy to collab or just chat or whatever. Bullshit off stream. Just let me know, dude. Real pleasure.
Likewise, brother. Likewise.
All right. Take care.